Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Detroit Become Human. I am Circle Master, and joining me today I've got a very cool guy here with me. Go ahead and
Hello,
introduce
hello. That
yourself.
is in fact my name.
That was the joke. You were supposed to go into it.
Yeah, and I then explained the joke, therefore ruining it.
That's not going into it. That's getting out of it. You, you need to yes and better.
Okay. I'll mark that down on your feedback form. I keep these for all people because I am clearly way too damn organized. So I mentioned this to the stream chat during our setup time, but I should mention it here again real quick. My background is rather deep, I guess is the word with this game, in the sense that I've been programming for 15 years, and I've coded a lot of things that would ostensibly go into androids like this: natural language processing, context and context analysis, that sort of stuff. I've had some pretty hardcore programming jobs, and then beyond that, I've also written for a short story periodical that was published in the Midwest region. It was called Plain Weird Tales, Plain. It's a pun. It was stupid, but anyway, I had a bunch of short stories in the weird sci-fi setting that kind of goes along with this game. And I also have a 120-page manuscript written so far that goes into a lot of the meditations on sentience that this game ostensibly goes into. So please understand all of that. If I say some stuff that seems like a bit of a stretch, it's because I'm trying to encapsulate all of this in a couple of sentences, and it's really hard for me.
Well, I will go ahead and forgive you of that, because the more sentences you say, the fewer I have to say while I'm trying to play the game.
Yeah.
As difficult and captivating as the QTE prompts here are,
I'm honestly a little bit surprised it didn't immediately put you into a situation like you saw in I believe it was episode 2, where you had to tiptoe around a bunch of protesters and not get somebody beating the crap out
My
of.
name is Connor. I'm the android
well,
sent by
that was
Cybertron.
actually
I looked for you at the
pretty
station,
simple,
but
just
nobody
because there's
knew
a
where
pretty
you were.
wide pathway
They said
behind
you were
them that you
probably
can
having a
just
drink nearby.
go through to avoid
was
them.
lucky to
It's
find
just
you
that
at
your
the fifth
natural
bar.
inclination
What
is
do you
to
want?
barrel on through, at which point
You
they
were
accost
assigned a
you.
case early this evening. A homicide.
So, like every
Involving a
other
cyberlight
playthrough I've
android.
seen of this game, they always get
In
accosted.
accordance with procedure, the company has allocated a
And
specialized
I
model.
Just
I
has to be
didn't
like,
think
yeah,
Marcus
that's
deserved
okay.
I
that.
don't need any assistance, especially not from a plastic asshole like you.
Leave the man to
Just be a good
drink.
little robot and get the fuck out of
Yeah, there's nothing better than the drink on duty. That's the
I
sweetest drink.
understand that some people are not comfortable.
Appears to be no. That's not a decent
But I
whiskey.
am
Like I
perfectly
could have a whole lot of
Now
sympathy
back
for the
off
man
before I
if
crush you like an empty
if
beer
it looked
can.
like a whiskey.
It's kind of a weird color. I mean,
Yeah,
it,
I think you
it
should
more
stop
like
drinking
looks
and
like
come with me.
vodka and Red
It'll
Bull,
make life
maybe.
easier for both
Red
of
Bull's
us.
kind of got that
Vodka
red
and
tint to
Red
it.
Bull. A great way to poison yourself in the worst part, or in the worst way.
Well, as long as he's poisoning himself, let's
You know what?
let's contribute.
I'll buy you
Buy
a
him
drink.
another drink. Sure, why
What do you
not?
say? Bartender, the same again, please.
you.
We'll pay with our robo money.
technology. Make it a double.
Through your little mood ring up there. I definitely did feel like it was something of a misstep to have that basically be a literal mood ring. Because one of the
Homicide.
recurrent direction problems, not writing problem, direction problems that I kept seeing with this game is its constant habit of making its point with a sledgehammer, which, I mean, kind of gets into another larger direction problem, and this is something that happens in a lot of David Cage's games.
wait here.
He really just tries to do way too much and tackle way too big
My
of
instructions are to accompany
big
you
of
to the crime
a,
scene, Lieutenant.
a
Listen, I
subject
don't give a
subject
fuck
space
about your
for the
instructions.
time that he has.
Told you to wait here, so you shut
And
the fuck up.
you know, that's a
and you
discipline
wait
problem.
here.
That's a leadership problem on his part, and it's exactly the sort of thing that leads the third and fourth acts of most of his games falling apart. I'm looking at you, Indigo Prophecy.
Oh, Indigo Prophecy has such problems.
Yeah, you know, I mean, starts off
I'm not
really
confirming
strong,
anything.
and because of the leadership problems, not because
Androids
of
are
like
not
the
gonna help
individual bits of writing or
It's
whatever.
with
Each
me.
individual scene is really quite strong, but you know they're not
Look,
articulated
understand,
in
Cartridge, you
a good
understand.
way. Which,
Your order contradicted my
is,
instructions.
like I said, that's the
You don't
problem. That's the
talk,
problem
you
with the
don't touch
director.
anything, and you stay out of my way. Got it?
Got it.
Evening, Hank.
Well, I don't
We were starting to think
really
you weren't
want to
going to show.
criticize David
Yeah, that
Cage
was
too
the
heavily
plan until this
because,
asshole found me.
you know,
So,
my sister did work with him and,
Android, huh?
you know, has
He's
an acting career that she needs to worry about.
Than us clods, you know. I mean, this. I'm certainly not going to get nasty, but you know, I mean, these are things that could definitely show some improvement.
Jesus, that smell. It was even worse before we opened
Jesus,
the
that smell.
That
The
smell
victim's
of
name's Carlos
everything.
Ortiz. He has a record for theft and aggravated assault.
Oh, there it is. There's the L1 prompt.
According to the neighbors,
There's
he
a
was
CSI guy
kind of a
standing right in
loner.
our way. There we go.
How did you
Stayed
tell he was
inside most of the
CSI,
time. They
dude?
hardly ever saw him.
Well, because he
Stay
was
easy. Wasn't worth calling everybody out
taking
in the middle
pictures,
of the night.
and obviously
Could've waited
journalists
till
aren't allowed
morning.
inside, so only a crime scene investigator
I'd
would
say
be
he's
taking
been there for a
pictures.
good 3
Also,
weeks.
the
Only more when the coroner
big
gets
label
here.
on his shoulder
There's
blades
a
that
kitchen
says
knife over
CSI.
here.
I
Probably
didn't
the
even
murder
notice that. That was so
Any
subtle.
sign of a break-in?
Nope.
Doesn't look like anything to me.
The
Circle
landlord said
Master
the front door was
2018.
locked from the inside. All the windows were boarded up. The killer
Must be
must have
getting
gone out.
tired. So
Is this
here,
that red ice stuff?
Yes.
Man, I remember seeing this thing and having a mild breakdown as as somebody who really
I
likes
gotta get
chemistry
some air.
because none of
yourself
the
at home.
ingredients on there make any
I'll be
sense.
outside if you need
You know, you have a cancer causing agent, an acidic agent. There's absolutely no way for any of that stuff to be taken up into your bloodstream. Even if you smoked it, maybe the lithium would give you a cerebral high because it's used to treat bipolar disorder, some powerful antipsychotics. But that's if you manage to not sear the shit out of your lung wall. And then toluene is just a straight out carcinogen. Oh, and by the way, like there's in all of those chemical compounds, there's a hell of a lot more than carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, and oxygen, which is the chemical formula it gave you there. Like no part about that made sense, and that made me unreasonably angry.
but it's future carbon. I don't know what to tell you, man. I mean, they really can't do a lot to make up new drugs that are made from new, non-existing things without, like, just making up new elements, which is probably
prescription
worse.
medication with
I would say
gasoline
so.
or something.
Taking samples for analysis.
That's one of the ways crack cocaine was made.
Well,
That dude's face is something else.
I don't know if I should bring it up now or not, but we've seen red ice a couple times. Hey, there it is. Acetone, lithium, therium, toluene, hydrochloric acid. Which is apparently only 4 elements.
One of the 7 strong acids that will eat the shit out of human tissue.
Well, maybe it's just trace amounts of that.
Ugh.
But, we've seen red ice a couple times now. It's going to come up, if it hasn't already, in one of the magazines that we find that... you know what? I'm going to hold on to that thought because it's actually going to be related to something later in this scene. So I will.
I'm sure I will be able to comment on a fair bit of it. This reconstruction setup is really interesting. Like I really appreciated these mechanics when they were in the first scene in particular. Connor being able to like replay what happened in a very touchable format is super powerful.
He was stabbed
Yeah, and that is
28
something that I
times.
appreciate with the UI, that you are these androids, so that it makes sense that you have these overlays, that you have this detective vision on your R2 button, all that stuff. You know, it makes sense in the context of the character that you're playing, as opposed to, oh, you just can do this.
Yeah,
Chris, I want full analysis on
and it also changes the way that you interact with the world enough that you don't want to leave it on all the time, which is one of the primary problems with these sorts of detective vision mechanics in a lot of other games, like for example the Arkham games or the Assassin's Creed games. Assassin's Creed also uses it.
Yeah.
That's quite a backyard.
Door was locked from the inside. Killer must have gone out this way.
I wish I had a backyard. I
There are
used
no
to have one.
footprints apart from Officer Collins' size.
Now I have an apartment.
Running around there by now. Or right now, rather. Yeah.
No, this type of soil would retain a trace. Nobody's been out here for a long time.
Sure, Connor. That one seems a little bit sketchy, but I'll take his word for it.
Yeah, especially with the rain coming down, it seems really easy
that is
for
really
that
the thing that
to
messes
move
with
soil
me.
around.
Like this type of soil would have retained a trace. Really, you know, I mean, like what kind of soil are we talking about? Because soft loam would have been washed away by the rain. Clay wouldn't have retained would not have retained much of a trace in the first place. You know, sod wouldn't have made a print like that. So, actually, not clear on what he's going for there.
So, Coolguy, how do you feel about android sex?
I'm a big fan of android sex.
Well, don't have sex with your phone. That's nasty.
Sorry, ladies, but plastic can't be beat. Oh man.
And the cover article of that was sponsored by the Android Sex Club. They must have paid a lot of money for that advertising.
Honestly, like this is your Android spying on you is also insanely topical, considering how all of our home assistants currently, you know, the Amazon Echo.
Hey Alexa, keep spying on me.
Yeah. Fortunately, you're on my headphones, so you can't activate my own Echo.
Oh, I don't actually have one. I was just making the joke. I didn't think it would actually do anything to anybody's.
Yeah, you were trying. I get you.
No, again.
I'm fucking with you, man. Relax. So, Decedent was carrying this particular bat and traces of therium. So this actually could make an interesting point here. Deviant took a knife and then got hit in the head with the bat.
No, this is going backwards in time, remember?
Yeah, and
so rolling it forward.
Well, that also implies that. Interesting. Yeah, that implies that that you know that red ice is taken up into the bloodstream in a relatively unmodified format, because like therium is pretty reactive. Like it's not an immobile compound, so if it went through a number of metabolic processes, if for example it was ingested rather than smoked, it wouldn't get in there properly.
So here we have a thing.
Yeah, that's.
I don't even want to think about what that was made out of, that it's brown and in the bathroom. Did I just lose you there?
No, I am. So one of my big weaknesses is procedural crime stuff like this. Like, do you know who Akira Kurosawa is?
Yes.
Okay, great.
It has been like 20 years since I saw Rochambeau. Don't ask me about that.
Rashomon to start out with.
Yeah, Rashomon.
Second of all, I was going to reference High and Low, his procedural crime drama, which is one of the most like authentic crime dramas of the entire 20th century, and it's absolutely brilliant.
Well, I haven't seen that.
It's great. It's one of his longer movies. It's like it's over 3 hours, but it's very much
basically all of
the
his
androids
well, Rashomon wasn't. Yojimbo wasn't.
with the bat.
But yeah, I saw Rashomon so long ago that I forgot the appropriate title. Like I said, about 20 years. I've seen
Rochambeau. Like, I am
Ron,
disappointed in you on that one.
I've seen Ron and I've seen Seven Samurai.
Seven Samurai is amazing, though.
The android stabbed the victim.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so we are confirmed. I confirmed that the deviant here was a sin.
Okay, then what happened?
That was actually not something that I was clear on until just now.
Well, deviant refers specifically to these androids with deviant behavior.
Okay.
These aggressive things that go against their
sure, the whole
such.
3 laws, which Isaac Asimov explicitly wrote to have a whole bunch of practical contradictions into them.
All right, that makes sense.
Which it always amazes me when people reference the 3 laws like they were some sort of like great way of summarizing
Your theory's not totally
good behavior or something of that nature, because
the android went.
like Asimov very specifically wrote them such that there would be massive contradictions in a real-world setting.
You call it blue blood. It's
yeah,
the
there's
fluid
actually a
that powers
reference to
androids'
that in one of these magazines. I don't know how far into the game it is, but it's a kind of blink and you miss a reference. Where they just say, oh, somebody so many years ago wrote about 3 laws of robotics to try to control behavior. And nowadays we have a much more modern, sophisticated view of things, but it shows how long people were thinking about this sort of problem.
So that actually clarified a fair bit in terms of the theory. Like, so this is what was confusing me earlier. I was thinking that the therium came from red ice use, whereas it's just part of the it's just part of the literal blue blood that androids have.
Yeah, it is basically, blue blood is the slang term for this android blue goo that they run on, and it is an ingredient in the drugs that is now creating an epidemic of drug use in Middle America. It's future heroin, basically.
Yeah, it's the new opioid epidemic in this thing, and this is another situation where I feel like the game bites off a lot more than it can chew in the time that it has. Even something as simple as giving them blue bloods and titling them blue bloods brings a whole host of cultural semantics regarding European nobility that originally came about from like European nobles literally being inside most of the time, so they were more pale. You can see their veins, and their veins were blue, so it's like those people are blue-blooded. So that was like originally where that idiom came from, and associating androids, which are these explicit underclass in the game, with this sort of bourgeoisie historical experience, it's just like, this is super confusing. You're trying to be really, really clever, and it's everywhere. It's all over the place.
Yeah, well, that's arguably one of the more subtle references that David Cage works into this game, as we look at this character wearing an armband to signify that he's part of an underclass.
And the literal back of the bus, which I'm sorry, that one I'm very good friends with a number of people that literally protested the civil rights movement, and completely unprompted when this game came out, they flew off the handle at me. It was just like, this is not why I got blasted with water cannons. So somebody could take that experience and put me in the shoes of this person that is literally not human. That was what they were saying about us back when we were fighting for our rights.
He was gonna kill me. I'm begging
But
you.
hey, we found him. We solved the crime. It was the killer was inside the house.
Connor, what
Don't
the fuck
tell
is
them.
going on up there?
So this is going to be a really interesting moral dilemma.
It's here,
never mind.
Lieutenant!
It's scripted.
Oh shit.
Yep,
Chris,
because
hey, get your asses in here now.
he's still conforming to his programming at this point.
Well, again, this is our first proper introduction to Connor, so he is going to act the most straight-laced here.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've got our nice little map of
All of the things that you could have done.
all of our Telltale games optional paths.
I really do appreciate that this sort of thing right here, because this has always been something that bugs the crap out of me when I'm playing Telltale games. I'm glad you brought that up, because in most of the Telltale game engines, you don't know exactly what you can say and what you can't say to actively make a change. Whereas this one, it's just like, yeah, here are all of the points that you could have made a change. Whereas,
So, yeah.
you know, being a jerk to somebody in, for example, The Walking Dead, you have no idea if that's actually going to make a difference. There's a couple of times the game outright freaks you out and says such and such will remember this right before they are brutally murdered.
Well, they remembered it for their entire life.
Yeah, which you know ended in another 2 minutes.
Hey, don't discount every moment being precious. Or something, I don't know. Well, that'll do it for this chapter. I'm sorry you didn't get more time to rant about the android condition.
I mean, I said more than enough. I think more than enough that most people will just be like, look at that pseudo intellectual dickhead ranting off like he actually understands a lot of these things. And I will be the first to tell you all. I will respond to that right now. I don't. Like I said, I come from a very specific context in the back of this, so I understand these things in a very specific way. And maybe if I had an entire hour to talk about all of this stuff in detail, I'd be able to get it all out. But getting it out in 20 seconds and 5 sentences, just impossible for me. I'm not that good. So if I said something stupid, if I offended y'all, sorry, and I'm more than happy to talk about that more. But yeah, I come from a slightly different background on all of this.
And if you do want to hear more from Coolguy, you do make LPs. I still really enjoy your Dishonored LP that you and the other Time Warriors put together. If you want to go ahead and plug your channel and your recent / current projects, feel free to do so now.
Sure. So yeah, we can be found at youtube.com/user/Time Warriors. And we have like my main man is The Last Robokai, and we mostly focus on having as much fun as humanly possible with any game that we pick up. We will not play a game that we're not having a face-melting amount of fun with. Currently, we're doing an absolutely massive LP of Dishonored 2, to the point where we have myself, The Last Robokai, and 2 wonderful women that I've worked with before to play Emily High Chaos and Emily Low Chaos, and Robokai and I are playing Corvo. It's 4 complete playthroughs, and then Robokai also just started a playthrough of Prey Moon Crash. That's just me and him. We're rocking it old school. I frickin' love it. And then historically we've done a bunch of Warhammer, a bunch of Transformers, just anything that's super fun. And we've got a Discord too. Anybody's more than welcome to pop into there. I'll get you that link that you can put into the description and so forth circle. But yeah, we have a face melting amount of fun in there too. We have weekly movie nights. people link up to play games all the time. You know, we just finished a run through of Transformers Prime, and one of our other folks or one of our other community members is taking over the space on Sunday nights to just share whatever cool stuff he's got in mind.
Yep, so if you want to check out any of that, feel free to check out the links that'll be in the description. And next time is going to be more Kara. Don't know if my sister's going to rejoin me for that. She's still shooting season 2 of The Tick, as far as I'm aware. But either way...
Like, sounds like she's doing an incredible job, too, from how she was speaking about it in the first episode. Like, really looking forward to that.
Well, yeah, season 1 was great. You should, if you have Amazon Prime, definitely check out season 1. You can watch the whole thing right now.
Bellissimo. Mwah.
Either way, until next time, take care.